Welcome one and all to the first Katacaz Gaming Report of 2020. Since this is the first gaming report, here is an obligatory explanation of what this series is about. My name is Katacaz, and as the name implies, these videos will feature some news and information that has come out about the in-game news, upcoming titles, or whatever else I feel like talking about that is gaming related. This is of course a gaming channel, so what do you expect? And this is my show, so I get to decide what happens. Now with that introduction out the way, here's what's on the table today. There was a recent Pokemon Direct with info about the future plans of Pokemon Sword and Shield, and a new mystery dungeon game. Hearthstone's latest expansion has its solo adventure be announced. World of Warcraft 8.3 Visions of N'Zoth will be going live soon, and I'll be throwing in a couple extra random stuff in the Quickfire segment near the end of the video. For our first story today, let's talk about that Pokemon Direct that happened. This Direct spoke about an upcoming title, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. Now, I will say that I've never played a Mystery Dungeon game before. Not even like one of those copies of it. I've not touched the series at all. So I don't know much about them. But I will admit, the game does look interesting, so I may end up getting it. The game is listed as being just about $80 Australian on the eShop, so it's a big maybe about whether I get it. A demo is also available to get right now, and if you do the demo, save data from the demo will carry across to the real game when it releases. The game is set to release on the 6th of March 2020, which is just 2 weeks before Animal Crossing New Horizons is planned to release. Now that game I definitely plan to get. It's Animal Crossing. I really love New Leaf. The main thing I wanted to talk about was actually the news regarding Pokemon Sword and Shield. Later this year, DLC will be released for these games. The Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra will be two new areas added to the game as part of an expansion pass. With new places to explore and Pokemon to catch, being either new regional variants or just plain returning Pokemon, Isle of Armor is expected to release in June of 2020, with Crown Tundra sometime in autumn 2020, that is of course spring for us in the southern hemisphere, just sometime in between September and November of 2020. As part of a recent update, if you go to the Wedgehurst station, you were able to catch a Slowpoke that has somehow made it all the way there. The eShop lists these passes as $45 Australian. I was disappointed that as of yet there is no cheaper option if you want to get the DLC for both Sword and Shield, for those that own both copies. So if you do own both of them, it'll cost $90 for all of it, just the same as another game. I have seen some mixed feelings on how they're implementing the DLC. Some people saying that Game Freak are becoming EA, selling back what should have been in the game to begin with. While I understand the criticism, I personally don't mind this route, as it's much better than the alternative of just releasing an Ultra Sword or Ultra Shield. That's not really... I wouldn't really want to get the base game again, just to get a few extra features. I'm in the opinion that Pokemon Sword and Shield were rushed, and given more time, many more things would have been added to the base game. But, as it was at launch, I've had enough fun as it was. As is, this is the first Pokemon game that I've actually ended up beating and completed the Pokédex, even if only temporary for when they introduce more of them. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the Game of a Time, or GOAT. The name isn't quite the best, but I wanted to use the GOAT acronym, so that's up to me. This segment is where I have someone, either myself or a guest, talk about some game they would really recommend. Something simple. It could be a game from years ago that they played as a kid, or something recent that they picked up. But in general, these are games that people will just recommend, and if you haven't tried it, you should probably check it out. In future reports, I may include recommendations from commenters of previous videos, or if you end up tweeting at me, at Katacaz on Twitter, maybe I can feature your story or your your favourite game. We'll see. Hello!
Hello.
As part of the introduction, I have it that this segment of the video is currently called The Game of a Time. Terrible name, and I plan to change it.
It's Ocarina of Time, isn't it?
No, it could be, but the point of it was that it could have the acronym GOAT. That is the only reason why I called it that for now. Terrible name for a really mediocre acronym, but neither here nor there. The point of this thing, as I have just stated, for reference, this part is being recorded another time, so whatever. It'll be inserted in the middle of the video. So, joining me in this segment is my friend Nick.
Hello.
Who has previously joined me for my streams, if you were to have watched any. As I've said, the point of this segment is that I discuss or the guest in particular discusses a game that they would recommend people to play, whether it's from way ages in the past that they grew up playing, or something new that they've picked up that has been fun to play and get used to. So, first question. What game is it that you wanted to talk about?
Spider-Man Web of Shadows.
Alright, Spider-Man Web of Shadows. What platforms was that on? Or is it on?
So I'm not sure about all the platforms, but the ones I remember were PS3, Xbox 360, PS2, maybe the original Xbox, Nintendo DS.
Okay. So, do you have any stories to tell about them? Why are you recommending it?
I will definitely say this straight up. I do think that the PS3 and the Xbox 360 versions were the best, mainly because of the fact that that's the ones I'm assuming the story they actually wanted to tell in those ones. They didn't have any plot changes that they had to make for the other games because of the lower quality.
Do you have any good memories about it? So this is a game that you played growing up, right? Like years ago.
Yeah.
So why is this one sticking into your mind for now?
It was the last game that had pretty good web swinging from Spider-Man up until now.
So just the web swinging.
Well, the first game that had it was Spider-Man 2, but then after the Web of Shadows, it just disappeared and changed into something else. But it really gave you a feel of, freedom. I also love the fact that you could crawl and fight on walls, which I don't think any of the other ones ever had, any of the other Spider-Man games.
That's all for this segment, I suppose. Thanks for joining me. And
I've been cancelled.
For now, we'll see about whether you'll come back on the show again in future. So, we'll see. Either way. On to the next segment of this news video. Back to me in the studio. Okay, so moving on. The Hearthstone team have announced that the finale of their Year of the Dragon is on the way. For the past year, the League of Evil, headed by Rafarm, stole Dalaran and unleashed plagues on Uldum. They were stopped by the League of Explorers, well, mostly. Now Rafarm and co. intend to revive the mighty Galakrond in the latest expansion, Descent of Dragons. Now, the expansion has been out for a while now, but the solo adventure of this set has now been revealed. This two-story adventure will be similar to the older adventures like Naxxramas and Blackrock Mountain, where it's not a dungeon run, it's go through a set of encounters. But this time round, you get a pre-built deck, and the heroic mode is where you use your own cards. So new players won't have that frustration of requiring all these old cards. By completing each of these encounters, up to 35 new cards that are being added will be collectible. Some of the cards have been revealed so far, including the amazing Reno, a 10 mana mage hero card that gives 5 armor when played, and has a battle cry of "Make all minions disappear." Poof. The hero power was later revealed as being "What does this do?", which is a passive hero power that casts a random spell at the start of your turn. I do love random spells. Yogg-Saron was the best. As a bit of trivia, by the way, according to the devs, they mentioned on Reddit that the mage spell Magic Trick from Rise of Shadows was originally "Make a minion disappear." It would have costed a lot more, but was later changed in development to what it is today, which is just discovering a spell. This adventure unlocks on January 21st, with the first villain chapter being free, but the rest must be bought for about $20 or 27 Australian dollars. Or, of course, if you've saved up enough gold in-game, each wing will be available for 700 gold. Our last main story of today is the release of World of Warcraft Patch 8.3, Visions of N'Zoth. After the events of Patch 8.2, the old god N'Zoth was released from their prison. In this patch, some new allied races are being added, being Vulpera for the Horde, and Mechanomes for the Alliance. Honestly, I actually do want to make a Vulpera hunter. I main hunter. Vulperas actually look pretty good. Dolly and Dot are my best friends. The zones of Uldum and the Vale of Eternal Blossoms have been corrupted and updated. Speaking of Vale of Eternal Blossoms, by the way, after that was destroyed in Pandaria because of Garrosh, they're bringing back the original one. I never saw the original Vale of Eternal Blossoms outside of some instanced versions of it, but now you get to see the original version when it's not part of an invasion. But so, in these zones, there'll be assault, incursion sort of things that pop up on the map on a rotation. So you'll be able to do a bunch of objectives each time of day, and it rotates all the time. It's part of the core gameplay loop of this patch. A couple weeks, or at least a week after the expansion releases, the raid will come open, and then a week after that, the Mythic version will come open, along with Elfar. I'll get to the dates in a bit. But, so, a new Mythic race will begin. With the end of the Fourth War in patch 8.3.5, all these numbers, yeah. The Fourth War ended in 8.3.5, with Sylvanas jettisoning off somewhere. We'll find out a bit later. Spoilers, I suppose. But, Bolvar, the current Lich King, not Arthas anymore, but Bolvar, he's been a bit busy with all the fallen soldiers. So, from this patch, new players will be able to make new Death Knights of the allied races, including Pandas. So the Pandarans will be able to be DKs now. There are a few other gameplay things that are being added, along with like an overhaul to the auction house. There's new achievements, new things. The Deep Wind Gorge, the PvP map. I haven't actually played it. The original one, I'm not much of a PvP person. That one's being overhauled, similar to Warsong Gulch and Arathi Basin. Like, new visual style and all that. That's being redone. Yeah, there's a few things happening. But I mostly wanted to... I've said what I've mainly wanted to say. But yeah, the main things are the dates. So, patch 8.3 releases on the 14th of January for US realms, and January 15th for the EU. The raid opens up a week later on the 21st for normal and heroic difficulties. Then January 28th will have the Mythic race begin and the first wing of LFR open, with a new wing for LFR opening up each week afterwards. LFR will be the only way that I really experience this raid until I completely outlevel it. I'm not much of a raider, so as much as I like hunting achievements, I can't do the latest content in raiding. I'm not familiar with raiding, so whatever. So with all the main stories covered, now I'll move on to what I'll call the Quickfire segment. So this is just whatever in-game news I feel like covering for the time being, as I want to mention in no particular order. So, on the Epic Game Store, there is a free game this week, until January 17th, being Sundered Eldritch Edition, with Horus being free between the 17th and 24th. No clue what these games are about. They're just free on the Epic Store, so might as well check them out if you want. Epic has free games every now and then. I've been picking them up all the time. There's no way I'm going to play them all, but I just collect them. Fortnite Battle Royale, speaking of another Epic game, is going into overtime as Season 1 of Chapter 2 nears its end. So if you haven't gotten in, all the challenges would be unlocked by now, provided that you've got enough in the Battle Pass. So get those challenges done, level up a lot. Yeah, I've already gotten to Tier 100, so that's my thing. Yeah, got all those cosmetics. On another note, the Nintendo Switch eShop had a New Year's Specials event, which ended the other day on the 12th of January, so a bit late mentioning it out, but there are a few games still on special until a bit later, so why not go check them out? There's, what was it, Okami? I think that was it, the, like, Fox game. I definitely want to pick that one up, add that to my collection, since it's on special until, like, the 26th, so we'll see about that. And that's all I have for this report. Let me know what you thought about this sort of video structure. It's the first time that I've done this. I've been wanting to start a new series of news-related videos for quite some time, namely back when the Hearthstone controversy of last year happened, so the Blitzchung incident. I really wanted to talk about that, but I just couldn't find the motivation to start the news-related thing, and I knew that I was going to take a break at the end of the year anyway. But, so I want to do more of these videos in future, not necessarily for every single news that happens, just things that I want to talk about and I'm interested in. So full disclosure, saying this right now, full disclosure, this video series will mostly cover news related to Nintendo headliner games like Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, that sort of thing, along with Blizzard titles, namely World of Warcraft, Hearthstone and Overwatch, as well as Fortnite Battle Royale, that is, or if something major happens in Save the World, I'll mention that. Those are primarily the games that I mostly play and follow, but if any viewers like to drop in comments or tweet at me a particular news story, I can potentially feature it. I'll look into it, and if it's interesting enough, it might just make the cut, so yeah. So if things happen in those games, I'll likely make a video about them. Not all the time. It needs to be significant, in my view. If you think there are some news stories, yeah, send them my way. Tweet at me on Twitter. I don't tweet that often, so my profile is pretty well empty. But I will read them if they're tweeted at me. I'll just say that now. It's like, I read messages, I just don't send them that often. So, and then, just to round things out, I wanted to mention, regarding my channel, I'm still taking a break from streaming for now, but I do plan to start up again at some point. No confirmed date, just wanted to get this video out there for now. That's all for now. Thanks for watching this KGR, that's the acronym I'm going to go with for this series, Katacaz Gaming Report, and I hope to see you again next time. So, goodbye for now. Thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you next time.